We welcome you to another edition of Snap the Pigskin. Hello, everybody. Week 1 wrapped up in the books. Week 2 is going to get underway here pretty shortly. Noah Clark joined by Kedrick Stumbris. This is Snap the Pigskin. We got a lot of stuff that we're going to talk to you about today. This is one of the only few times, where we finally get to talk about NFL news on our full show. And we've got a long ways to go. We got Jordan Love.
One of the few times we're going to talk about the NFL on our NFL show.
Yes.
What, we're going to go back to talking about watches the rest of the weeks?
Potentially, yeah. Talk about Ricky Pearsall's watches. But we got a great show for you today. The Packers and Jordan Love. What is going to happen with Green Bay? Jordan Love suffered an injury. We're going to break down that as well today. Dak Prescott got the bag. What happens the rest of the way for Dak Prescott? What his deal means? What happens with Micah Parsons? We're going to talk a little bit about that. Hassan Reddick and the Jets. Hassan Reddick did not play in week 1. He holds out continuously. Will he see the field at all from the New York Jets? We'll talk about that. Bringing home the bacon, our very first one of the year. We've got our week 1 overreactions, underreactions, and we're going to be talking our pigskin picks and our recap of week 1 and who's in front and who is in behind. Kedrick, happy. It's good to see you. Happy NFL season. We have finally made it. Week 2 is going to be beginning here on Thursday night. This show is going to come out at some point today. And if you want to watch it tomorrow as well for your Thursday night football action, you can. But it's good to see you.
It is good to see you too, Noah. I'm glad we made it a full 2 minutes in from the monologue here, Saturday Night Live style. Yeah, a really fun week 1 of football. I got to watch more than I was anticipating, which was nice. Some of the football I watched wasn't the best, but got to watch it nonetheless, which was a great way to spend a weekend.
Yeah, and I understand you were also at a wedding, so you didn't get to watch any of the college football that was going on, but it was okay. It was okay, though.
It was all right. Had, Texas fans, Texas alums who wanted to gush over Texas beating up a Michigan team that just lost all of its talent to the NFL, and so watching the Longhorns fans do their victory lap was certainly something on Saturday morning.
So did you watch I want to kind of segue into this now too.
Oh, okay, let's see how you can pull it off.
Did you watch Friday's game? Did you watch Friday's Packers-Eagles game?
I did get to watch most of it, yes. Okay. Yeah, I did.
Well, so you saw what happened at the end, and for those of you that are watching this show, I'll give you a little bit of a recap. So Green Bay Packers playing in Brazil against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Packers were the road team. The Eagles were the home team.
Do you think our people who listen to an NFL podcast don't know these details yet?
I don't think they do yet, but it's always good to give them some insight. If they're a first-time listener, you never know. You never know. But anyways, so I will say this. Brazil, the field was kind of a disaster. It was an ice skating rink throughout. Players really weren't getting any traction on the field. The field was torn up, and it ended the worst possible way it could have ended. The Green Bay Packers losing and Jordan Love potentially being out for quite a while. He suffered a sprained MCL at the end of week 1 with 6 seconds left to go for the Packers against the Eagles. They play the Indianapolis Colts this weekend. Matt LaFleur said Jordan Love has to get cleared, but if he is not ready to play, Malik Willis will start for the Green Bay Packers against the Indianapolis Colts. But right now, Green Bay, their season isn't washed. Thank goodness it's not a season-ending injury, and thank goodness Jordan Love is going to be able to play the rest of the season. But what happens now with Green Bay? There's still a lot of question marks because now you're going to have to potentially roll with Malik Willis. Up to this point, there was a lot of question marks about the offense, a lot of question marks about the defense, and it ends up being a loss. What happens with Green Bay now with Jordan Love being out?
You roll the dice on Malik Willis. This I was not hoping to have to roll out my half-baked backup quarterback theory out so in the open already. But as I kind of detailed on my other show, Sconnie Six Pack, earlier this week, here it's out in the open now, but my theory has to be out in the open because it needs to be heard, which is all you can ask of your backup quarterback. If you are a team that has a franchise quarterback, right? So if you're a team where the quality of your backup quarterback and what they're able to do might actually matter for your season, all you can really ask is that your backup can go out there and steal you a game. Otherwise, if your franchise quarterback is going to be out for 6-8 weeks, which does not appear to be the case here for Jordan Love, my guess is he's going to be back in 2 to 3 weeks. You're not going to have enough talent from a backup quarterback because there aren't 32 starting caliber quarterbacks in the NFL already. So if Malik Willis can go out and steal a game from either the Indianapolis Colts, who he has spent the last couple of seasons preparing to play 2 times a year against, as a former quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, or if he can steal a game in week 3 against the Tennessee Titans, that might put the Packers in a good enough spot. Now, on the other hand, if the Packers lose this week, they're facing the potential and tombstone situation, having to say rest in peace on their season. Now, the 0-2 isn't the same moniker that it was in the past with 17 full games and 3 wildcard spots, but this potentially puts the Packers in a really, really rough position for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. And it does, you don't want to be 0-2. You certainly don't want to be 0-3.
Yeah.
But here's the ideal part about this for Green Bay is their schedule doesn't look that bad to start the year. After the Eagles, you got the Colts, you got the Titans, and you got the Vikings. Those are all winnable games. So even if you don't have Jordan Love in the lineup, I think maybe you could pull 1, maybe 2 of those games off with Malik Willis. But I also think too, you could lean on the Matt LaFleur signature ground game.
Yeah, there's certainly that, and the Colts did not look good defending the run in week 1. Allowed 5.3 yards per carry to the Houston Texans, but you certainly feel worse about this. Not only did you lose Jordan Love for the foreseeable future, you also lost the game in Brazil in a game where the Packers were the better offense by EPA per play on a down-to-down basis. The Eagles were much better situationally, much better at converting first downs, especially on early downs. Mm-hmm. Packers and the Eagles were pretty similar on third down. Eagles were 3 of 14 and 1 of 1 on fourth down. Packers were 3 of 11 and 1 of 1 on fourth down as well. But the Eagles produced, I think it was 6 more first downs altogether. So the Packers defense has to be better on early downs. Packers also made some pretty questionable decisions, like kicking a field goal down at, the Philly 7 early on, which was a big, if you look at win percentage added, that really swung the game in the Eagles' favor by the Packers on a kick go for it choice to choose to kick. All this went in where Packers played a game, didn't play their A+ game, probably didn't even play their B+ game.
No.
Still could have won. And instead you lose and are facing the potential. All right, it's not unreasonable to say we fast forward and the Packers are 0-3. That looks a lot worse than the Packers at least getting out with a win against Philadelphia and going 1-2.
Yeah, and the thing that, and I said this last week, was they needed to get off to a very fast start. They needed to score, and they needed to score early. Mm-hmm. This, I'll be honest, Kedrick, they should have been up 21-0. At the end of that first quarter, should have been up 21-0. I mean,
that's not unreasonable.
I mean, you look at the three, because you look at the 3 possessions that they had. They had their opening drive. Should have been a touchdown, got called back for 12 men on the field. Mm-hmm. Jaden Reed scores.
A stupid 12 men on the field penalty, right? Like one that doesn't make sense with the fact that they shouldn't have been substituting in the first place. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah. So they got called, that penalty got called back on their opening drive. Should have been 7-0. Then you have the interception for Xavier McKinney to get them into the red zone. That should have at least got you 3, maybe another touchdown. So now you potentially have 14-0. Then you have the fumble from Jalen Hurts in there again on their other side of the 50 and right back in their red zone. no points out of that again as well. So
Yeah,
there's
Packers have no
three.
one to blame but themselves. There's
Yeah,
plenty of folks being like, "Oh, there were so many penalties called. Oh, there were so like the field was bad."
yeah. Those are
Packers
three
have no one to blame.
opportunities.
No one to
Yeah,
blame but themselves. Shot themselves in the foot over and over again.
yeah, and those are three opportunities they could have got, and they could have put this game out of reach. You also have to look too in the second half. They got two consecutive defensive stops, got nothing out of those defensive stops for their offense to produce anything. I mean, they could have made it a 2-score game. You also have Keyshawn Nixon and Jair Alexander both times running it out of the back of the end zone for no reason whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And that could have won Keyshawn Nixon. If he takes that knee, you have it at, believe the 30 with like 27 seconds left of time. You could have at least, gotten into a spot where it's Hail Mary range. And then Jair Alexander, the interception early on in the third that, he ran out of the end zone. So there were so many opportunities, plus the drops too by the wide receivers. I mean, they had an uncharacteristically amount of drops in this game. So it just overall, they could have won this game outright. They could have won this game blown away, and they costed themselves a lot. And I would be remiss if we didn't talk, Kedrick, about Brazil and about the field, because this field was, I mean, like the players even complained about it. A lot of people in the media complained about it. Like it didn't feel like an NFL playing field. It felt more like you're playing on an ice skating rink. And like looking back on the film, like I was watching the All 22 film of this, and you can't really grade any of the film because it's like you have offensive linemen sliding, you have wide receivers sliding on routes. So
yeah,
the
it was really bad.
NFL,
Like you hear plenty of people complain about the playing surfaces in whatever places, but this was particularly egregious.
Yeah. And so it's, to me, like with the NFL, like these international games, I get, yes, you're trying to expand the brand a bit and go to different countries and try to promote your brand. But like, also too, you need to think of the safety of your players. And the NFL simply just did not think about the safety of their players. And when they look back on this, it's like,
the NFL doesn't care about the safety of their players. Like,
I know.
I don't know. Calling for not playing international games in the name of player safety is never going to get anywhere, because the NFL is never going to give up on it. The Player Association isn't going to put a hard line stance down on it and say, we're not going to sign another CBA unless you agree to no more international games. Like I don't know. It's a little bit of a waste of time.
Yeah. And the England games are fun. I mean, the England games are, I think, the only
nothing I love more than getting up at 7 a.m. to watch football.
But that, I was just about to say that's the other thing too. You want to wake up at like 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning to watch
Booger McFarlane on the Toy Story version of the game on Disney+.
Oh Lord! But it was terrible. It was terrible, and I pray to God that the Packers do not have to play another international game ever again, because I hate it. I hated it. So that was that. But we look into Sunday's action now. Let's transition to Sunday's action. And there was a lot of mediocre Sunday offensive football. What was not mediocre was the Dallas Cowboys. They were on par, and it was not only a great day for the Cowboys, great day for Dak Prescott. Got paid the bag, highest paid player in NFL history, Mr. Dak Prescott. $240 million for 4 years. He will be making an annual average of $60 million per year. And Dak Prescott is probably going to be locked up as a Cowboy for the rest of his career.
There is no probably about that one. That is signed, sealed, and delivered. Yeah.
So Dak Prescott, not only did he get that deal, he played really well. The defense played really well. There's a lot of questions, though, with the Dallas Cowboys. Big question now. They got Dak Prescott signed. They got CeeDee Lamb signed. My big thing, Kedrick, what happens with Micah Parsons? Because I talked about this last week. Jerry Jones would be making a big mistake to let Micah Parsons walk. And right now, that's the case for the Dallas Cowboys. It's looking pretty evident because he is maybe the best defensive player to come out of this Cowboys defense since DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah. Now that we have a Dak contract and now that we have the full details, which it's Wednesday, the 11th. I don't think we really had the full details on this until yesterday, the 10th. So Dak has the largest largest total guarantee in NFL history, $231 million over the 230 mark set by Cleveland signing Deshaun Watson. And right now, his salary cap hit for 2025, right, which is where we really start getting into the to the Micah Parsons conversation. His cap hit for 2025 is $89.8 million.
Woof.
He will not play on that cap number. A simple base restructure opens up another $37 million of cap space that does push that out more into the several void years he has on the back end of this deal. But that's why you look at the deal and say, okay, this sets up Dak Prescott to be a Dallas Cowboy for life, because not only does he have several void years on the end of the deal, the void years begin after the franchise tag deadline. So it's effectively a no tag clause in the contract. He also keeps his full no trade clause in the contract. So this completely sets up Dak Prescott to be drafted and retire as a Dallas Cowboy, whether you like it or not. Otherwise, the Cowboys are out a good chunk of money. There is a point at which they can pay him $17 million after 4 years to walk away. But like, I just really doubt that happens. But this all starts with the restructure built into year 2 of the contract, saves $37 million cap space off of that $89 million number. I think that's probably enough to where you have enough flexibility to get a Micah Parsons deal done.
Yeah. But it's just hard for me to look at Jerry Jones and just, it's just hard for me to see that. I mean, cause like how much money can Micah Parsons even ask now? Like where, I mean, like, yes,
what $31 million mark would make him the highest paid edge rusher in the NFL?
I believe so. Okay. Yeah. But do you think he would take the franchise tag? If like,
no, he won't play in the tag.
Like if Dallas were to offer that,
I don't think
it's
possible. It wouldn't be the right move for Dallas though, because the way, so if you tag him, you have to take that full cap hit in that year. If the Cowboys are going to get a Micah Parsons deal done as well, they need to not tag him, especially with this huge cap hit now coming next year for Dak. They're going to need to not tag Micah Parsons, push a good chunk of that base salary into the future and preserve their cap flexibility. The Cowboys, I think, because I agree with you. I think they'd be foolish not to re-sign Micah Parsons. I think they are setting themselves up for a big 3 now for the next 3-4 seasons that consists of CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, and Micah Parsons. You cannot franchise tag Micah Parsons. Otherwise, the plan does not work.
Yeah.
The cap math just doesn't add up at that point.
It also is just like, to me, like, where are they going to find the money to even pay Micah Parsons? Like, because he's going to be he's going to be commanding big money.
Yeah,
like he's going to be commanding big money. And the Cowboys, they just paid Dak like all that money. They paid CeeDee Lamb all that money, and it's.
Do you mean where are they going to find the money in terms of like dollars and cents, or in terms of cap math?
In terms of like dollars, both. In terms of dollars and cents.
Freaking Dallas Cowboys. What do you mean where are they going to get the money? That's pocket change.
I mean that Jerry Jones is the owner and the guy.
Yeah, and checks. He owns the most valuable franchise in American sports.
He has done some stupid things in his life. This would be up there with stupid. Like, he let Jerry Jones walk, and since then they have not been even close to the Super Bowl.
You said he let Jerry Jones walk.
Or let Jerry Jones. Jimmy Johnson. He let Jimmy Johnson walk. They have not made the Super Bowl since that time.
Yeah, that like. Okay,
they made one Super Bowl.
Okay, Grandpa, like, calm down here, buddy. That's so long ago.
I know.
The NFL is just not the same. Like, I think you can look at the patterns of the CD and Dak contracts and see how they are setting themselves up to get this done. I think you are maybe a little too cynical.
I guess I just, to me, I just don't know. Like, I feel like it's all setting up to where Micah Parsons, I just don't think gets a deal done in Dallas. And it just to me just feels like that he's going to command so much money, and and rightfully so, because he's one of their best defensive players that they've had since like Hall of Famer DeMarcus Ware. They need they need him for that defense to be able to make it work. And it's just like Jerry just paid the bag for like a starting wide receiver and starting quarterback.
Like you have to roster 53 people regardless. They're going to spend to the cap regardless. The actual dollars coming out of Jerry Jones' pocket, like that doesn't move. That fundamentally does not move the needle on these decisions at all.
I get that, but it's just
then why do you keep bringing it up if you get that?
I don't know. Just Jerry, the Cowboys, to me, I just feel like that Micah Parsons might be a free agent next year. But who knows? Maybe they do find a way to get it done.
Also, letting a coach walk without compensation is so much different than letting like one of the best edge rushers in the league walk and getting nothing for it. Like,
yeah,
it's just not the same thing.
Yeah. But who knows? But congrats to Dak. He's going to be a Cowboy for life. Or let me phrase that. He is a Cowboy for the rest of his career in Dallas. And hopefully he has an MVP type season. He had one on Sunday. He was tearing it up against the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. You know what team that wasn't tearing it up this weekend was the New York Jets. They kind of blew the game against the San Francisco 49ers. And Aaron Rodgers, I will say, was great to see Aaron Rodgers back out there playing. Kedrick may, think the opposite of that because, he's not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers anymore.
Not familiar.
Not familiar. Yeah, exactly. So, but the sad part about it is while Aaron Rodgers did play well, the Jets defense played awful. And one of the big pieces to this defense that still has not yet been able to see the field for the New York Jets is Hassan Reddick, who they got over in a trade from Philadelphia. And Hassan Reddick had one more year on his deal, looking for a contract extension with the New York Jets. The Jets have been holding out on him for these last few months through all of training camp. And right now, you look at Hassan Reddick. Adam Schefter posted this out on Twitter. The Jets holdout edge rusher Hassan Reddick will forfeit a game check of nearly $800,000 for missing the Monday night regular season opener versus the Niners, and an additional $800,000 for each game he subsequently misses. This is on top of more than $500 million in NFL.
Not on top of $500 million. Hassan Reddick has not been fined $500 million.
No, he has not been fined.
$5 million.
Yes, $5 million. Sorry.
Where is Hassan Reddick going to get the money to pay for Micah Parsons?
Anyways, the point is though, like, but continuing on what he says, this is on top of more than $5 million in NFL mandated fines that he already has accumulated from the New York Jets. But I will say, when I watched Monday Night Football with the Jets and the Niners, the Jets defense didn't look like the Jets defense. And it's because they needed an edge rusher. And Hassan Reddick's presence, dude, was missed. I mean, they didn't get any pressure on Brock Purdy. They struggled to stop the run all night. They couldn't really stop the run all night. They let Purdy just do basically whatever he wanted back there. And you look at Hassan Reddick. He was brought in to kind of cause some chaos for the Jets on the football field, not in the locker room, but he was one of those guys that, they were expecting him to come in and be one of their top pass rushers. And now it has not pinned out. And Joe Douglas, once again, has pulled another masterclass. They haven't been able to, he's been like this for the last several years since he's been the Jets GM.
The worst executive in the National Football League.
Like it's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, and whoever signed that quarterback contract in Cleveland is certainly up there if he is employed anywhere in the league still. But like, yeah, Joe Douglas, you suck, man. Like, just terrible at your job. The man is in a contract dispute, and you trade for him knowing that you're going to have to sign him to another deal, and you don't have a deal in place. So it seems that the New York Jets have given up a third-round pick for nothing. For nothing. Packers got to hold them over a barrel for the corpse of whatever quarterback is playing in New Brunswick now. Like just an absolute joke of an organization. It is absurd. And yeah, they needed pass rush against Brock Purdy. I have come to terms, I think, with the fact that Brock Purdy is an elite processor. And he is not going to make every throw. He is not going to wow you with his arm. He is not going to impress you with his legs. But if you do not get pressure on him, he has the ability to identify exactly where the ball needs to go and can do that to kill you. Without Hassan Reddick out there, the Jets clearly just did not have a chance. And that's not to say that we know what that defense looks like with Hassan Reddick, of course. But yeah, they looked like garbage against the 49ers offense.
I mean, even too, like for Hassan Reddick, like what is, if they were to even offer a deal, like one, what's the deal going to look like? And two, you know, if you get the deal done, like, is he going to see the field right away? Because I mean, he probably will,
Yeah.
but also too, like if he doesn't, because they may have somebody else who might be more NFL, you know, might be ready to play and might be in shape than Hassan Reddick. And then it's also, you know, three, does Robert Saleh even want him because of what he's done off the field? And I mean,
yes,
there's so many questions.
Yes, he does. Yes,
Yeah.
Robert Saleh wants Hassan Reddick on the football field. That's not a question.
There's so many questions, but like, I just like, you wonder, because where are you going to find the money for this deal? How much are you going to give him for this deal? Those are like the two big things. Cause I don't even know if the Jets have money to spend on even just giving Hassan Reddick a deal. Like,
yeah, they do.
In terms of cap space?
That's why they traded for him, because they have the cap space to pull off.
So then where is the deal? Like, what is taking for what? Like, why are they having such a big problem with this?
It'll be tied up into whatever disagreements they have about guarantees and years and yada, yada, yada. It's the same crap as every other deal.
Cause like, if that's going to be the case for the Jets the rest of this season, like, dude, like I think their defense could be at a top 10 defense this year, but Hassan Reddick could really help that pass rush in a big way. Cause Jermaine Johnson can't give you all the pass rush from one side. And they lost Bryce Huff too. So you had already another pass rusher potentially in place of Bryce Huff, and he's gone. And so now you have to figure out who's going to be on that other side. Like, the Jets, man. Joe Douglas, dude. And this man still somehow has a job. He still somehow has a job.
Not for long. I don't think for long.
Not for long. But, God, just terrible. In other news, though, too, Tom Brady. Tom Brady, dude. Did you happen to listen to Tom Brady's broadcast? What were your thoughts on that?
This is like most of what I got to watch on Sunday, and I don't know. He was like a little awkward to start, but I think is easing into the role pretty well. It made for an interesting experience in what was like, I guess an entertaining game to watch, but not because the game was competitive between the Cowboys and the Browns. But certainly added something to it. To me, it is night and day flipping between him, and at the same time, that Chargers Raiders game was on CBS. It is night and day flipping between Tom Brady and Tony Romo. Tony Romo has really fallen off.
My God, yes.
Yeah. Tom Brady is a lot better than Romo is right now. I did also find the fact that Tom Brady is in this Tostitos commercial with Julian Edelman, and then they show the little cut in to the commercial with Tom Brady in real life in the booth watching his own commercial. I found that entertaining for like stupid human BS reasons. But I don't know. It was fine. What did you think about Tom Brady in the booth?
There was a couple times I I did enjoy some of the analysis Brady was putting out there because they're, part of the game when you're an announcer is you do have to bring some excitement to the game, but you also have to bring some analysis to the
Mhm.
game on every single play.
Mhm.
And he did that. In a lot of times it really sounded very insightful. Now,
Yeah, he did a good job of being insightful without being like over technical or over
yeah,
explanatory. I thought he
yeah,
hit that middle rung there really well.
yeah. Now, the one part that I think that he has that, he has that he doesn't have that Tony Romo has is excitability. Tony Romo does have that excitability, but he has zero analysis of the game. Zero
I don't know.
analysis of
Even
the
the Tony
game.
Romo
I mean, like
excitability now feels so fake at this point.
it,
Jim.
but it's also like too like Brady. If he gave at least a little bit of like excitement or caffeine or something,
There was some. I mean, that was an uncompetitive football game, right?
it
Like,
was.
what was he? What was he really supposed to bring in that department?
It was. I heard from a lot of people though that they were all disappointed because he was pretty bland and they thought that Greg Olson got cheated. But I thought he did well in
I
terms of insight.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't know. I'm not the person to ask about this because I really don't like Greg Olson as a
why?
color guy. He he sounds like the worst parts of Tony Romo without the good parts. In my
God, Tony Romo. I mean, like, dude, Tony Romo's fallen off, and he still has like what 3 more years, 4 more years left on his contract with
Who knows?
CBS. But like, it's also too like CBS has nobody replaced. I mean, it's either that or you have to put him on the Thursday night crew with like uh Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. And
How
I like
they work for Amazon.
and what is that?
Tony Romo works for CBS.
No, I mean like I'm trying to say like they aren't. Let me phrase it. They aren't as bad as Thursday Night Football's crew with Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels, because that's someone who's also lost his touch as well.
Yeah, I think that's more about Al Michaels has lost a step.
Yeah.
Rather than whatever the heck has gone on with Tony Romo. I think those are different things.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. But I do think that yeah, I think Tom Brady did well. We'll see what next week brings. He hopefully will bring better. He'll get better and better as the weeks go on. But I was enjoyed. It kept me glued to my screen. It kept me, interested about what he was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a lot of people, that's what I think it's gonna be the rest of this season is they're gonna keep their, ears and eyes glued to whatever Brady says. So moving forward now, let's get into, we're going to talk now, Kedrick, our overreaction, underreaction, because while there were some teams that were exciting, there were some teams that disappointed us. There were some teams that, were kind of a bit of overreaction, and there were kind of teams that were a bit of an underreaction. So I'm going to start with you.
I don't think you know what that means.
No, I don't. I just put
underreaction.
I'm glad you finally said something because I was typing it. Gave me no facial expression, but I'm glad that either way, like it's been a long day. Okay, brother, it's been a long day. Okay. But
these are our week 1 overreactions. This is we're not underreacting to things.
Yes.
That does not make for good content.
Thank you, Kedrick. And
week 1 overreactions. Noah and I are going to tell you what teams we think are better than we first thought going into the season and what teams we think were worse than we first thought going into the season. Noah, I'm taking this over to save you from yourself.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Noah, give me a team after week 1 that you think is better than what you expected going into the season.
Oh, man. I got to go with the Tampa Bay Bucks, dude. Like, I think Baker Mayfield, you look at last year, Mayfield had a couple ups and downs. This year in week 1, he tore it up. I mean, again, I know it is against the Washington Commanders, and they've got a rookie quarterback, new head coach, new defensive scheme, but he tore it up. I mean, he was really impressive. 4 touchdown passes on the day against Washington. And that Bucs offense, they lost Dave Canales. They look better with Dave Canales gone, and that offense, with Mayfield looks really impressive. They got me, they got me impressed in my week 1 spot. I was very impressed by how that offense played.
Yeah, I mean, Baker averaging almost 10 yards per attempt. Pretty dang good day. Only took 1 sack. Didn't throw a pick. He looked really good. And so certainly through 1 week, making me eat crow on my NFC South predictions, which was I wasn't sure about the whole Baker Mayfield of it all. He certainly looked really good. I am going to jump to the AFC. And maybe talk about. I'm not ready to eat crow on this quarterback because I've dug in my heels too hard to do it. But a team that I think is probably better than what I first expected is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Noah, going into our AFC North preview episode, we were sitting there talking about, man, when is the last time the Pittsburgh Steelers took last place in a division?
Mm-hmm.
Does it feel like even a possibility anymore that the Pittsburgh Steelers finish in last place?
Who's laughing now?
I don't think so. Like, it does not feel like a possibility that the Steelers finish in last. It is a Mike Tomlin masterclass once again. And yeah, I don't think that Atlanta did a good job of like taking advantage of what Kirk Cousins can do well. Kirk Cousins maybe didn't look fully healthy after his Achilles tear. But Atlanta's defense was limited clearly by having to keep having to make sure they do not break contain on Justin Fields, who could get off and run. He ran for 57 yards, only 4 yards per attempt, but was able to do enough. He only took 2 sacks, which is good for Justin Fields numbers. Only threw for 156 yards on 6.8 yards per attempt. So like not super impressive passing numbers, but I'm going to be really interested to see what the heck that Pittsburgh chooses to do going forward at quarterback, because if I mean, clearly neither of us are enamored with Russell Wilson. Neither of us are really enamored with Justin Fields, but maybe if you don't love either of them, you need Fields in there who might be able to give you a little bit of extra something. And it seems like that extra something did affect Atlanta's defense's ability to play against the Steelers. I don't know. Regardless, I thought the defense looks solid still. You still have mean pass rusher and TJ Watt, who looks exceptionally fresh, quite frankly. And I know it's week 1, but yeah, I think I am ready to eat crow on the possibility of the Pittsburgh Steelers finishing in last place in this division.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh, hey, win is a win. I will say that much. I mean, like, you have to think if you're Russell Wilson. I mean, Russell Wilson, too, did the most Russell Wilson-like thing on Sunday. Even though he wasn't active, this goofball decided to have his entire uniform and pads on the sideline. You couldn't, I mean, like, this dude is just, I love Russell Wilson when he was at Wisconsin, but come on, like, this is goofball material. This is goofball behavior. And Justin Fields, man, I mean, like, he did some stuff that I think was enough to make this Steelers offense somewhat watchable. But even too, I've said this with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's washed. I mean, like, I've said this before. I just don't think he is a starting NFL quarterback anymore. And Pittsburgh right now, I mean, they said that they're going to give Justin Fields this potential start in week 2. So we'll see if Fields can build off this, because there is maybe some stuff that is salvageable.
To me, and I know I said a lot about Fields, to me, it's less about Fields' like actual talent, but I think what he represents as a potential threat, because I don't think he's a good passer, right? But I think he's going to make defenses think for just a second, because he really can kill you with his legs. Mm-hmm. But that threat is going to change how defenses have to play that offense. And I think otherwise, Russell Wilson going in there, it doesn't present any challenges for a defense. And meanwhile, Pittsburgh's defense was able to hold Atlanta to 4 yards per carry, right? And Kirk Cousins to not a very good game. I think Pittsburgh's better than what we saw. or than what you and I saw going into this season. Noah, who do you think is worse going into the season than you expected?
Oh, I would have wanted to said the Carolina Panthers, but I've ripped on them so
You
much.
can't have thought they were you couldn't have thought they were better than what you've seen so far.
And which is why I kept them off. For this segment, because it's like I can't rip the Carolina Panthers because we already know they're gonna be one of the worst teams in all of football this year. I have to go with the New York Giants though. Like, dude, this is oh man, I tweeted this out earlier, and Brian Daboll said this about Daniel Jones. Is basically he's going to keep him as his starter and they're going to roll with him. And I retweeted it and I commented on it. This is a guy who basically just wants to be fired. And I've said this about coaches. Stubbornness gets you fired. And you can't be stubborn. You have to be acceptable to change. This is a great opportunity for them to be acceptable to change. I know Drew Lock isn't your best option, but like Daniel Jones has had 6 freaking years to be the starting quarterback for this team. Only 1 playoff win. 1. Okay. And I mean, like, they looked terrible on Sunday. Like Daniel Jones, he looked terrible. He had a quarterback rating of 16%. He had a passer rating of 44, and they lost to the Sam Darnold Vikings. Okay. Not the JJ McCarthy Vikings. Not the Kirk Cousins Vikings.
Doesn't begin to describe it. Lost is an understatement.
I mean, like, to me, like, man, I have so many words for the Giants, and every single one of them is just starts with or is in the middle or ends with Daniel Jones being the starting quarterback for this franchise. If he's not, like, he should not be a starting quarterback for this team. And I hate that about the New York Giants, because I love the New York Giants. They're one of the NFL's historic franchises, and to see them constantly just just find ways to screw themselves over is hilarious to me. And it makes me also sad. And they're on this list here. They're kind of disappointing me, because I really thought that they would have been through this by now.
So let me try to see if I can convince you to approach the Daniel Jones of it all from another angle. One, is there a better option? I don't think Drew Lock is it.
I mean, like, but it's the only other option. Like, what else do you have? Do you have Drew Lock? Do you go with Tommy DeVito? Like, what else do you have to do?
This is the point, is that you don't have a better option.
It's worth a shot, at least.
What do you mean it's worth it? Okay, worth a shot to do what?
To just give, like,
to do what? What is the goal? Is the goal to make the playoffs? Give this offense to do what? To do
give
what?
This offense some life. Give this offense some life. You have elite neighbors.
To do what? To do what? What is the goal? To make the playoffs?
Yes. Like, the goal is to make the playoffs.
One, get out
to
of
make
here.
the play.
No, not for the New York Giants. Okay. Alternatively, all right. If this isn't going to convince you, because apparently you're a Drew Lock truther, which is again insane.
I'm not a Drew Lock truther. I'm just a Daniel Jones hater. Like, at this point,
fine.
like,
sure, whatever. But like,
yeah.
Let me present this option to you. Brian Daboll was the coach. They had a 1-year flash in the pan with Daniel Jones.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants then proceeded to turn around and give Daniel Jones that contract.
Right.
Was that Brian Daboll's idea? I don't know. We don't know. Did Brian Daboll want to get on board with that contract? I don't know. If Brian Daboll's not on board with Daniel Jones, and he's been trying to communicate this to his bosses, it is in his best interest to continue to play Daniel Jones in his own personal best interest.
Right.
Maybe you're right, and maybe that gets him fired, but it probably people around the league won't look at that as his own fault then, and he will get more jobs in the future. Or it doesn't end with him getting fired because he says, I just did what you want. Now, why don't you go out and give me an actual working quarterback? Mm-hmm. Why don't you go out and get me a Carson back, and we'll make something happen? Right. Okay. Like, if Brian Dable isn't on board with the whole Daniel Jones thing, which I think there's a good possibility of that, actually continuing to play Daniel Jones is probably in his best interest regardless.
Okay, you do have me convinced.
Yeah.
You do have me convinced on that. I agree with you on that statement. I do think that because let's be honest. Has Joe Schoen done anything in his tenure as Giants GM to keep him here as Giants general manager? Like, there hasn't really been one exciting thing that I've seen. I mean, besides him being on Hard Knocks. I mean, hey, give credit. Hey, they were on Hard Knocks. They, that was pretty cool.
It is week 2 of the NFL season. I do not want to hear another mention of Hard Knocks for another 8 months minimum. Get over. If you want to go watch Love Island or some crap. We're done with the Hard Knocks.
I'm just agreeing with you that Joe Schoen hasn't done anything impressive. And you look at last year and you look at the draft too, like they took Malik Neighbors over Michael Penix Jr. and over Bo Nix, I believe, because they were ahead of the Broncos and I believe ahead of the Falcons. If I'm not mistaken, they had a chance to take 2 quarterbacks and they chose Malik Neighbors instead. And Joe Schoen going to go back to Hard Knocks, Kedrick. They had an opportunity to trade up with New England. They tried to make calls with New England, didn't work to get up to 3. And here we are. And he let Saquon Barkley go. One of their better, one of the best offensive players, one of their, probably their best producers on the offensive side of the ball. And they got Devin Singletary. I mean, like, I do think, Brian, I do think you're right. Because this is the other thing I do like Brian Dable. I think he's a good head coach. I think he's a good coach in this league. I think you look at what he's done, what he did in Buffalo with Josh Allen. I think that's really impressive. What he did at Alabama with Tua and Jalen Hurts and all those guys, I think that's pretty impressive. And he's in a situation right now where it's not fun. It's not a situation where like he can make all the decisions and it's Joe Schoen's option. And I think that really sucks on his part because he's got Daniel Jones stuck as his quarterback. Now, the other thing too is they do have an out with Daniel Jones. We've talked about this. Mm-hmm. They do have an out with Daniel Jones. So they play him out the rest of this year. And I do think you're right. Like that could be a possibility. Dable just plays him out the rest of this year. And then they look at Joe Schoen and he goes to Joe Schoen and is like, dude, I need a quarterback that can actually win me games. Like there's that possibility. So I'm with you on that. You do have me convinced on that sentiment.
So your team that you thought is worse than what you expected is Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones or is the New York Giants because Daniel Jones is just as bad as you thought he was.
Yes. To be, I'll agree with that. Yes. Because I just hate Daniel Jones. I just cannot, dude, this man has played 6 years in the NFL of terrible football. Like it's just, oh God.
Well, at least you didn't do the exact same thing that you said you weren't going to do with the Carolina Panthers about
dude,
the New York Giants. Okay. Well, a team that is worse than what I thought was the Denver Broncos.
Broncos country?
I said maybe a sneaky, weird wild card pick, and no, because why on earth is Sean Payton having Bo Nix throw 42 passes in an NFL debut? What on earth? You want to talk about washed, man? Talk about Sean freaking Payton. And I defended him. I said I didn't think he was washed. Oh, I don't know. That is, and that's one game. It's one data point. But this is week 1 overreactions. We are not underreacting. We are overreacting. That's horrible. Horrible. And you lost to the Seahawks 26-20. You scored 20 points. 4 of those were first half safeties that you forced. You are leading at half because you forced 2 safeties in the first 30 minutes, and you still lost the game. The American football game. How do you lose a game in which you force 2 safeties? Is this freaking Iowa State? Like, what are we doing here?
No, that was the Bears. The Bears was Iowa State. That was something. But
that was just Will Levis being bad.
Oh my God. Yeah, Sean Payton, dude, like 42 passes on a rookie quarterback, and he didn't get a single touchdown pass. He threw 2 interceptions in this game as well.
Like, Bo Nix also led the team in rushing with 30
yards. And on 5 carries too. Like the second leading rusher was Jaleel McLaughlin, and he got 5 more carries for 27 yards. Like it's this
gave up over 5 yards a carry to Kenneth Walker. Yeah, this Broncos team is bad.
Broncos country, let's die.
Yeah, pretty much. And although the Chargers didn't look great in the first half against Vegas, like, oh God, that division, it's Raiders bad too. Gardner Minshew threw for almost like 300 yards, but they only scored 10 points or whatever the hell it was. It's disgusting because they turned the ball over 3 times. It was bad. I was asked by my future brother-in-law the other day at this wedding, like, who I thought the worst team in the league was, and I said, like, I said the Panthers. I said probably the Raiders would be my pick. In hindsight, I maybe should have said the New York Giants. But like, man,
you should say
maybe I should have said. I did mention the Panthers as a candidate. Maybe I should have said the Denver Broncos a day early before this, because right now they look horrific.
Yeah, it's them, and then because they're still also eating that Russell Wilson contract. So you're really like right now, it's just basically they're trying to, duct tape everything together with that Russell Wilson contract still being on their payroll.
Yeah, they suck.
It's brutal.
Why don't we move from worst to best, Noah?
Yeah, let's go to the very best, and let's go to our favorite segment here on this show that we did last year, and it's bringing home the bacon. And our bringing home the bacon player this week dominated in the Browns-Cowboys game. He right now is on 1 year left on his contract. Will Jerry Jones pay him? Probably not. He might be a Chicago Bear, maybe a Green Bay Packer. It is Mr. Micah Parsons. Dominated this game from start to finish. Kedrick, even though, I look at the Browns, and they struggled all game long on the offensive side, and the guy who was the centerpiece of just causing chaos was Micah Parsons.
Yep, 11 pressures, 6 QB hurries, 4 QB hits. He deflected a pass at the end of the first half that was picked off. He had just 1 sack. And interestingly, that I found via Pro Football Focus, only a 20.8% pass rush win percentage. So you dial that pass rush win rate into like season long stats for Micah Parsons, who last year had a 35% pass rush win rate. Micah Parsons dominated this football game, made Cleveland's life hell. And honestly, only had an okay game by his standards. It was disgusting what Micah Parsons was able to do. I think Cleveland only had 1 first down in the entire first half, maybe had 2. The first half, they had 54 yards of offense and 7 penalties for 39, 40 yards. It was gross. So many of those penalties were holds trying to get Micah Parsons away. So these numbers could be even more gaudy for Micah Parsons. Just,
oh my God, yes.
An awesome performance by him.
And we got to give a shout out to some of our honorable mentions as well. Saquon Barkley, 3 touchdowns on Friday night in the ice skating rink that is Brazil's Corinthian field. Baker Mayfield, 4 touchdown passes as well in the win over the Commanders. Those 2 got our honorable mentions, but Micah Parsons takes the deal. All right, now we are wrapping up our show here with Pigskin Picks. And right now, as of this show, Kedrick is leading by 1 point.
No, you have this backwards.
I have this backwards.
Yes.
I'm winning?
Yes.
Oh, let's go. I'm winning by 1 point. So that's very, very, very good for me. And it was very close, but Kedrick, we had some good picks week 1. Very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I was 24 points off of total margin of victory. You being 23 points off of the actual margin of victory. Would have been a lot better if we had not picked the New York Jets to beat San Francisco, both of us picking that side of the matchup. And
Stupid Niners
did not go that way.
Stupid Niners. But let's get into it. Let's start with our first Thursday night football game of the year. And we start with the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. We got a cracker of a game here. The Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Last
Is
time
that a thing anybody says?
It's a thing that British people say.
You're not British.
I just wanted to throw that in there.
Weren't you just advocating against international games?
Okay, anyways, we got a humdinger of a game here. The Bills and the Dolphins.
I'm going to quit the podcast.
Don't be like Sam. You see why Sam wanted to quit?
Yeah, because you say shit like humdinger.
Oh.
Jesus.
All right, we got the last time the Bills and the Dolphins met was for the AFC East Division title. The Miami Dolphins are playing again against the Buffalo Bills. This is a very early division test for Miami. They got their first win of the season against the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. Hopefully Tyreek Hill will not be pulled over on his way to the stadium. I'm going to tell Dolphins fans that right now. But Kedrick, we may have different opinions on this. Who do you got? Bills or Dolphins?
No, you are the leader in the clubhouse. You are on the tee box.
Oh,
we're not doing this game. We're not doing this game.
Clever. All right. For this matchup, I'm going with the Miami Dolphins on this one. I think I'm going to pick Dolphins here by 5. I think Miami is looking for a little bit of revenge. They came so close last year to winning the division against the Buffalo Bills. They're kind of, this is a little bit added extra motivation for them. And I think for Tyreek Hill, he's still mad that he got pulled over by Miami police on his way to the stadium. I see him going off against the Buffalo Bills. I just don't think Josh Allen can pull off another spectacular performance like he did last week against the Cardinals.
Yeah. Buffalo, maybe a candidate for a team that was better than I thought it was going into the year, just because Josh Allen is clearly still elevating that team.
They almost lost to the Cardinals, though.
Let's
be for real.
Almost lost. Like, not really. The Cardinals couldn't do jack squat in the second half. That was a slow march to the Cardinals' inevitable death in Highmark Stadium on Sunday. I am also going to go with the Dolphins here. I have the Dolphins by 3. This feels like a game in which somebody kicks something akin to a walk-off or a late field goal to win it. Maybe we get a really fun quarterback duel in this AFC East race early on. The Dolphins executed a huge drive to win it, a game-winning drive by Tua last week against the Jaguars. Maybe he's got another one in him this week. We will see what that looks like.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Bears and the Texans. Chicago. Their defense pulled off a win. Caleb Williams looked kind of garbage. Didn't even throw over 100 pass yards in classic Bears fashion. Also didn't score an offensive touchdown in this game against the Titans. Now they got the Houston Texans. They are on the road. This is an interesting thing. You probably won't care about this. Bears will be wearing their carrot, or in this case, as Sam likes to call it, their pumpkin unis on Sunday Night Football. I'm going to take Texans by 14. I think Houston's going to blow the doors off of the Bears here. I do not see this Bears offense doing anything. I think Texans are going to run them out of the stadium. I got Texans by 14.
Hot damn. I thought I was going big by saying like I want the Texans by 10. But wow. Yeah, the Bears defense, I think, was propped up by some pretty horrendous Will Levis play. That offense has not done anything yet. If you dig into the advanced numbers, the Bears were better on third down than you would expect them to be. And I think that's just because Will Levis was horrible. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get as great of a performance out of the Bears defense this time around against a competent quarterback. And meanwhile, Caleb Williams is passing for 3.2 yards per attempt, which would be bad on 3.2 yards per carry as a rushing number, right? Like, let's see something different here. I think the Titans pass rush is going to give the Bears a real problem. Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, I think is going to be a mess. Yeah, give me the Texans by 10. And maybe that's a 10 where really the game feels even less close than that.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, Caleb Williams, he did not play really that well. The offense, I mean, like Sam has said it on this show. It seems like whoever the Bears offensive coordinator is, he is the most hated man in Chicago. He texted me this last week. Shane Waldron, most hated man in Chicago. It did not take that long. It took about 1 week into the season, and he's already hated by Bears
I texted
fans.
Sam Shabini the other day, and my text message just said Duncan Keith, and he didn't get it. He didn't understand why. And he was like, why'd you just text me Duncan Keith? And I said, I don't know. I was just thinking about Duncan Keith like a true red-blooded American does. And he didn't understand the point. He didn't understand the point, which was unfortunate.
Oh man. This is gonna be an interesting Sunday night football game. All right. Monday Night Football also going to be a Battle of the Birds. We got a Battle of the Birds. That's my bird noise. Eagles and Falcons.
Chat, clip this. That's going right into the clip bank. No, that was not an no. Oh, stop. No, don't do that again.
Eagles and Falcons. First time the Eagles will be playing at the Link this year. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. I'm going Eagles with this one. I'm going Eagles by 7 in this game. I think the Falcons, they could have a bounce back. Kirk didn't play that well. Maybe he'll bounce back in this game against Philadelphia. Only thing about Kirk Cousins, though, I think he's only won once in his career against the Philadelphia Eagles. He has not played particularly too well against Philadelphia in his tenure, whether it's with Washington, whether it's with the Vikings. I think the Eagles right now, too, Saquon Barkley, what a pickup by Philadelphia as well. And I see the Eagles winning this one by 8. I think it's going to be close, but Philadelphia gets the job done.
Yeah, Saquon looked really great in week 1. I took the Eagles by 10. I think it'll be pretty big. The week 1 performance by Atlanta is concerning to me. I think if they struggled a little bit, although the Steelers didn't put up a ton of points, only 18, but I think if they struggled a little bit with the threat of Justin Fields on the ground, I think they're going to have a lot of problems with Jalen Hurts, who actually knows how to throw a football. Add in Saquon Barkley to that mix. Add in a defense that I think is maybe a little bit better in the secondary than the Steelers is. Yeah, I think this becomes a problem for Atlanta. And Atlanta, our pick to win the NFC South, could be looking at being 0 Tombstone early on, which is not something we would have expected.
Yeah, the Panthers are going to be 0-2 next week too, so we don't have to worry about that. I mean, they're not as bad as the Panthers. They're actually.
But the Saints won early, and I think might be a little bit better than we gave them credit for. And the Bucks, I think, are going to be frisky and make that a real division race.
Yes.
that could be a bad spot for the Falcons to be in if they lose.
I also just don't think Atlanta needs to worry. They're in third place, second place. Dude, Panthers in the toilet by week 5. They're not going to win.
You still need to. Their goal is to make the playoffs. Their goal isn't to be better than the Panthers.
It doesn't matter. It's the Panthers. I'm just trying to hate on the Panthers.
You're over here talking about the New York Giants need to make the playoffs. Atlanta, your job is to be better than the Carolina Panthers. What are you? Why are we flip flopping the actual expectations for this?
You know what I just thought about too with the Panthers? Matt Rule going.
Why do you think so? No, we're not talking about Matt Rule.
He went 11-27 with the Panthers.
I don't care about Matt Rule unless
better than any other coach.
Badgers. This is not a college football podcast. We don't need to talk about Matt Rule. All right, we've got a great show today, everybody. You can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/@snapthepigskin, or listen to wherever you get podcasts. While you are here, listen to our show, rate, review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and feed that algorithm. The algorithm is king on YouTube, youtube.com/@snapthepigskin. Hit that like button, leave a comment. Noah, do you have anything else going on you would like the people to know about you? I want
to throw in one more Panthers show.
Nope. You can follow him on Twitter @Clark Rigo. You can also follow me, Kedrick Stumbris, on the website, formerly known as Twitter @Kedrick Stumbris. I cover the Wisconsin Badgers for Athlon Sports. You can find me over there as well, and youtube.com/@Sconnie Six Pack. Goodbye, everybody.
Yes, this has been another edition of Snap the Pigskin.